They didn't have to come here.
This morning, in an NBC News exclusive, the father of victim Kaylee Gonsalves reacting to news that prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty against Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of murdering his daughter and 3 other students at the University of Idaho.
Sense of relief. I'm glad that we're in a situation of strength and the evidence is there, and we feel that we can, they can go forward with this.
The family's attorney believes it's a clear-cut death penalty case.
If you're not going to pursue the guy for a death penalty on a case like this, who are you going to pursue for a death penalty?
In just a few hours, Kohberger is set to return to a Moscow, Idaho courtroom for another pretrial hearing. His legal team is requesting records from last month's grand jury indictment of their client and are asking the judge to pause legal proceedings until they receive those materials. Already a key part of the case for both sides, Kohberger's DNA and where it was and wasn't found. While prosecutors said in a court filing earlier this month that Kohberger's DNA is a statistical match to DNA found on a knife sheath at the scene of the murders, his lawyers say authorities did not find any victim DNA in his apartment, office, home, or vehicle.
Is this your car?
He's had over a month before those search warrants were executed after the crime to throw away his clothes, wash his car, clean out his apartment. There's multiple ways to explain the lack of DNA in his vehicle, in his apartment. There's not a lot of ways to explain his DNA on the sheath of the murder weapon.
The legal battle is also unfolding just over a mile from the scene of the quadruple homicides. The off-campus home where Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were killed was set to be demolished. Before a judge ruled it should be preserved. Now the University of Idaho says they hope to have the house down ahead of the new school year. The Gonsalves family says the house should be preserved through trial.
I don't want to sit 6 months from now and hear somebody in the court case say, well, I really wish we could be in the house right now.
Once the case is over, then they can move on. But right now, it's the crime scene.
Bryan Kohberger has not entered a plea. A not guilty plea has been entered by the judge on his behalf. And regarding the death penalty, there's a new law here in Idaho allowing for death by firing squad if they can't locate the chemicals necessary for lethal injection. That law goes into effect July 1st. Savannah.
All right, Erin, thank you. I want to turn now to NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Hi, Danny. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the prosecution is saying they're seeking the death penalty. So you wonder if that makes us think that they are very confident with their case. What do you think?
Well, statistically, one study shows that Idaho prosecutors seek the death penalty in about 20% of death penalty eligible cases. Yeah. They only get death penalties in about 3% of those that go to trial. So Idaho prosecutors, it seems, are willing to try for the death penalty. They'll file the notice. That may be a negotiating tactic, of course. If they file the notice of intent, then the defense says, uh-oh, the stakes are higher. Perhaps that's meant to bring them to the table. But it seems that under Idaho law, the death penalty, which the Supreme Court has very much restricted, they're a little more permissive maybe than other jurisdictions.
How does it affect the case? Let's say this remains a death penalty case and it goes to trial as a capital case. How does that affect in terms of the jury that is selected and the evidence that's presented?
Absolutely. So in these cases, it becomes really 2 trials. You have a trial on the guilt phase, and then you have a trial on the penalty phase. Yeah. And as they must in every state, they have to take into account the aggravating factors and the mitigating factors. And in Idaho has a list of aggravating factors. If the jury finds during the penalty phase that any one of them was met, and I'll give you an example of one, that during the crime, the killer committed another murder. That is exactly within here. And there are other aggravating factors that fit as well, but I'm just giving you one example. If the jury finds that beyond a reasonable doubt, then the defense has to come up with some mitigating factors, or else the jury must essentially impose the death penalty. So Idaho procedure creates a clear path to the death penalty with those aggravating circumstances, one of which, an example I gave you, if we get to that phase, it's not likely he'd be found guilty of one murder and not the other. So it might be a foregone conclusion once you get there.
That's a pretty strict statute in Idaho, it sounds like.
Permissive for the death penalty, although the Supreme Court has limitations it imposes when compared to other states. It could be said that Idaho is more death friendly.
We keep hearing about this DNA information. How likely would the court grant the defense access to what they want, like the DNA information?
This is interesting, and I'm colored by the fact that I am a defense attorney, but the state's argument is essentially that there are two kinds of DNA. There's what we're familiar with traditionally, which is STR. This is going back to the OJ case. This is traditional DNA evidence. The state says that they use this new kind, this emerging evidence, IgG or forensic genealogy evidence. They use that to build a genealogical tree. But they're saying we use that as kind of a tip, as a lead. We're not going to introduce any of that at trial, Judge. So therefore, we don't have to turn that over to the defense under the rules. And the defense is saying, look, the rules call for anything that is a scientific report to be turned over. This also is something that is going to be very compelling information. It could exonerate our client. We should get it. The state probably has a more technical, rule-based argument, and the defense has a more spiritual argument that, look, this is something the state used. We should get to see it.
All right, Danny, it's going to be an interesting hearing today. Thank you,
Danny.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.